I tried to expose Diddy, but he threatened to kill me. I know all of Diddy's secrets. I even know where he buried the dead bodies, but I am not involved with Diddy.
The rapper Jay-Z has been accused in a civil lawsuit of raping a 13-year-old alongside Sean Diddy Combs at a party in the year 2000.
This is the news that we brought you earlier in the week in our special episode that US rapper Jay-Z, real name Sean Carter, has been mentioned in a US civil suit that alleges that he, alongside Sean Diddy Combs, drugged and a 13-year-old girl after the VMAs in 2000.
It was last March 2024 when the feds, in LA, in Miami, and New York, they enacted these raids on Diddy's home, and it's been nonstop coverage since then. And finally, we know he was obviously arrested in late 2024. And
how close was Diddy and Jay-Z? They was close enough that they wasn't playing basketball. They wasn't playing baseball. They wasn't playing football. And they wasn't playing hockey or soccer for Diddy to come on stage, pat him on his ass, and then make the statement to people in the world that can't nobody call me Sean but Jay-Z.
Diddy's federal trial just flipped everything upside down, and now Jay-Z is right back in the spotlight. Again, these two were so close that it was like they ran every game together, not basketball, not football, not even hockey, but a whole different league. Jay-Z has been ducking the noise, staying far from the chaos, trying to keep his name clean and out of the headlines, but now the court might want answers, and Jay-Z might not have a choice. Diddy, on the other hand, is clearly feeling the pressure and things are heating up fast. Let us break it down from the start. Jury selection for one of the wildest celebrity trials kicked off on May 5th. Diddy is facing some serious federal heat, and this case is making waves across the country. The witness list, the names involved, the locations mentioned, this thing reads like a full-blown movie saga.
This is a very disturbing incident of physical violence. But what it is it actually matches up almost word for word with the complaint that was filed by Cassandra Ventura. I want to bring in right now Tracy Walder, former CIA and FBI agent, frequent contributor here on Sidebar, and also national security contributor here on News Nation. Tracy, your immediate reaction to seeing this, because it is absolutely gut-wrenching and incredibly disturbing to see, in my opinion. What do you think?
I could not agree with you more. It was shocking, quite frankly. It's not that I ever dismissed any of Miss Ventura's claims. I always have believed her and her claims. I suspect this video was probably used in terms of her bringing up that initial case. I'm also shocked, though, that there's not additional criminal charges as well. This is extremely severe, goes on for such a period of time, and she was clearly very much injured. It is just appalling to watch.
Rapper Jay-Z of raping a 13-year-old girl in 2000 alongside Sean Diddy Combs. The lawsuit, originally filed in October, was refiled today to include Jay-Z as a defendant. The anonymous accuser claims the assault occurred at an MTV Video Music Awards after party. Jay-Z has denied the allegations in a statement on Roc Nation's Instagram, calling the accusations heinous and urging a criminal complaint be filed instead of a civil one. He also criticized the attorney behind the lawsuit, Tony Busby, accusing him of exploiting the case for personal gain.
Once that video went viral, Diddy's carefully built image collapsed in an instant. He posted an apology online saying he was ashamed of himself and claimed he had been going to therapy, but the bigger impact was what came next. The video opened the floodgates for voices that had been silent for years. Since then, more than 60 lawsuits have surfaced, some already settled, others still moving forward, all of them shaping a narrative of someone who used power, fame, and influence to maintain control over everyone in his orbit.
I hit rock bottom, but I make no excuses. My behavior on that video is inexcusable. I take full responsibility for my actions in that video.
And his lawyers can lie, but video doesn't lie. And when it was clear that he was physically violent with Cassie, he really had no choice but to apologize. On the legal side, it didn't help him. It can be used against him. From a PR perspective, though, this was the right.
Really didn't know what to expect.
You lie about your background.
That's all things I didn't lie about.
But I haven't.
You do early on that kept you
financially stable and now financially flourishing at this point in your life?
So what I did was find another passion. All my dreams that I thought were dreams turned out to be nightmares. And I figured out the biggest value and purpose in life is that it has nothing to do with money or buying all these things. I was young, manipulated, and I was a puppet.
We are learning that Jay-Z is accused of a 13-year-old girl. That is new in the Diddy lawsuit, and the new allegations are just coming out this evening. Jay-Z is being accused of a minor along with Diddy at a MTV VMAs after party back in 2000, according to documents obtained by Fox News Digital tonight. The lawsuit, which was initially filed back in October, was refiled tonight in New York by an anonymous accuser claiming Jay-Z, whose full name is Sean Carter, while Combs and Celebrity B watched. So that other celebrity was not named.
After the news broke, Jay-Z's lawyer filed a motion on Tuesday. They've asked to deny the plaintiff's request to proceed anonymously. They've also asked for the case to be dealt with as quickly as possible because of the highly sensitive nature of the matter and because of the media interest it's generated. The filed motion from Jay-Z's lawyer, Alex Spiro, also says, for the avoidance of doubt, Mr. Carter is entirely innocent. This is a shakedown. He is not mentioned, referenced, or implicated in any way in the criminal investigation of Mr. Combs. He is neither a target nor a person of interest in that investigation. Cheyenne, I'll start with you. Sort of where were you and how did you react when you heard the new allegations?
I was actually coming out of a theater show, and so my phone just was filled with messages trying to work out what happened, and then Jay-Z's statement dropped, and so it was kind of all hands on deck on a Sunday night, which has been kind of the case for some of these updated filings. The news breaks at night, and the next morning it's just unfolding as things continue.
I was in the bed eating chicken wings, and they were delicious. And all of a sudden, my phone just started text messages and messages from TikTok and Joe. So I started doing my own research, and I had grease all over my fingers, typing on the iPad, and I was just like, well, here we go. It's about to blow up.
I mean, this is kind of what people have been waiting for. When Tony Busby came out at the beginning of October and he promised to name other people co-conspirators, the facilitators of foul play, he called them. Was that kind of what you were seeing online, just comments of, oh, okay, it's beginning?
I think, since Diddy was arrested and the idea of his parties, people have been clamoring for additional names, other celebrities to now be pulled into that. And Jay-Z is one of the biggest celebrities so far. It's pulled into it. So yeah, people were kind of waiting for a moment like this.
And if you listen to his lawyers, some of the things that they said that were pretty interesting is he's not a target. He's not a probe or things of this at the criminal investigation, because if he was a target, he would have received a target letter from the federal authorities saying, you come and sit down and talk to us. So his lawyer said, without saying, the federal government on the RICO allegations have never talked to Jay-Z. That's basically him saying, I already know nobody's looking at me criminal.
Now here is where the Jay-Z connection comes in. A man named Joseph Mansro filed a lawsuit claiming he was invited to one of Diddy's parties in Miami back in 2015, where he says he was put through humiliating moments in front of powerful guests. He specifically named Beyonce and Jay-Z, saying they witnessed everything and stayed silent. Mansro said Beyonce looked stunned, like she knew something was off, but claimed Jay-Z just watched without reacting. Now, that is a major accusation, but Jay-Z's legal team responded fast. His lawyer, Alex Spiro, one of the top names in the legal world, released proof showing Jay-Z and Beyonce were not even in Miami at the time. They were in Las Vegas at the Billboard Music Awards with solid photo and video evidence to back it up. Soon after that, Mansro changed his lawsuit and completely removed any mention of the Carters, like they were never involved at all. But the public had already seen their names in the headlines, and that was enough for the questions to start flying. How much do Jay and Bai really know about Diddy's world?
Prosecutors come forward and said that Jay-Z is pretty much in between a rock and a hard place. Jay-Z will be either forced to testify or he won't be subpoenaed to testify because he's being charged as a part of this RICO case with Diddy. So this is going to be an interesting situation to see how this plays out. I have a bunch of different pieces of information on this. I want to get into what Nicki Minaj has been saying too. She just actually, if you don't know, we can kind of break this news live. Nicki Minaj has just come out, put out some more statements about Jay-Z and Diddy. So we got to talk about that. You know, what she had to say about the situation. I'm going to pull up Diddy's indictment, the entire document, the 14-page indictment. And we're going to talk about this. Crazy situation, man. Crazy situation. We're going to see how this plays out for Jay. If you guys remember earlier this summer, 50 had just been going crazy, posting content and memes and different things about Diddy, making fun of him. He actually just sold his documentary. I think he just sold his Diddy documentary to Netflix. They said he's been working on it for 10 years. So I want to talk about the situation with 50 and what he was saying prior to about Jay-Z being involved with the Diddy situation. This is an article about Diddy's situation. It says P. Diddy's rich and powerful friends such as Jay-Z could be forced to testify. That's what experts claim. That's the headline. And then they just kind of go into a synopsis and a summary of everything that Diddy has been charged with, what's going on with him, why it's going on with him. And, you know, I don't feel the need to reiterate all that. We already know what that is. I don't think we need to go back into the details of that yet. We're going to pull up his indictment, the 14-page indictment anyway. So this is what a prosecutor said. Let me see. Here we go. The article says, attending the U.S. Sun. The former prosecutor, Niyama Ramani, explained to the U.S. Sun how those in Diddy's circle could be affected by any trial on the horizon. This is the quote that the prosecutor gave. Jay-Z and other celebrities can be subpoenaed, but they will almost certainly assert their Fifth Amendment privilege against self-incrimination and refuse to testify. Now, this prosecutor is saying that Jay-Z and, you know, they named Kim Kardashian, Kanye West, Leonardo DiCaprio, Pharrell, Snoop Dogg. They named these people in the article. She said that he could, or that if they're subpoenaed, they're probably gonna, you know, plead the fifth in order to avoid self-incrimination. Now, why that's important? Because if you didn't do anything wrong, why would you feel the need to worry about being incriminated? If you had nothing to do with nothing, if you legit. Now there is a point, or there's a part of this where people don't want to testify against Diddy because of the business relationships that they've had with him. But in my opinion, you know, I think pleading the fifth publicly is going to look just as bad as anything else.
But upon Diddy's driver, who told me that I was exactly what Diddy was looking for.
What did you think when he said that to you?
I thought it meant that I was just pretty.
There is now rising speculation that Jay-Z could be asked to testify as a witness. And just to be clear, he is not being accused of anything, but because he was close to Diddy during the years these events allegedly happened, prosecutors might want to know what he saw, what he heard, or what kind of conversations they had. Diddy and Jay-Z were more than just friends. They were business allies, party insiders, music collaborators, and constantly seen at each other's events. If anyone had a window into Diddy's lifestyle or private actions, it would be Jay. Some legal analysts now believe his name is sitting on a list of potential witnesses the court might reach out to, and for someone like Jay-Z, who has always guarded his image and avoided public mess, this could be the kind of situation he never wanted to be in.
I don't know what kind of statement, and I can't say, I wish I could say half a homo, but I know I can't say it, but I don't know what kind of half a homo that is. And you trying to say that you're not close to somebody. You coming on stage, patting them on their ass, and then you making a broad statement to the public, can't nobody call me Sean but Sean Carter. And I heard Jay-Z said the same thing about them. But they were so close that they had matching white girls together. Because when they used to see each other, they used to say, yo, how your skinny white girl doing? He'd be like, yo, how your skinny white girl doing? So I guess that's a certain type of closeness.
I ain't know anything about that, man. I ain't know about, Jay touching his, ass. I gotta go see the video. I ain't hear about that.
Come on, man. Everybody's seen that. 50 even pointed it out. Excuse me. When they was in ATL on stage. Remember when 50 bum rushed the stage with them?
Yeah, I think I recall that.
When Puff came on stage, first thing he did was pat Jay-Z on that. But I forgot. That's your favorite rapper.
Hey, him and Pac is 1A, 1B. But what's your issue with Jay, man? I didn't know you had an issue with him.
I'm never a fan of somebody that I was gonna knock out. And then we was at the, it was me, him, Ashley Kushner, Puff and them. We was all at the next game together, and he didn't even remember none of it. And I don't expect him to remember, but I remembered. You understand? And he told Puff, he said, yo, Puff, yo, I heard about that Gene right there. That Gene got a mean left. Oh, he said, that Gene a knock a out. Then he gonna come up to me and say, man, you look like, man, you a tear ass up. And I said to himself, I said, yo, no Diddy. Pause, whatever. I said, he don't even remember. I was about to knock him the F out. He didn't even remember. He said to me to Laura. But that's how these guys are, man. They'll cause situations and cause problems, and then they'll forget what they done because they on a whole nother atmosphere. You know what I'm saying? A lot of shit that he did, you gotta understand, you know, like now he'll say that they're kids because he's raising kids of his own. You understand? But how would you like it that if Blue Ivory, 15, 16 years old, 17, 18 years old, dating a in his early 30s? You're not gonna go for that. No matter what she came through in Hollywood. But you gotta understand, guys who was around there, we didn't know Jay-Z them ages. We didn't know these cats' age. You know what I'm saying? They wasn't having no beards and nothing like that. They was wearing low cuts. You understand? Clean face. I would have never believed when Jay was coming around the block, scooping up the young girls and stuff like that he was 30 years old.
Insiders are saying Diddy is seriously panicking over the idea of Jay-Z taking the stand, because even if Jay-Z does not accuse him of anything, just confirming certain habits or conversations could trigger major fallout. Diddy's inner circle is falling apart fast. People who once worked with him, dated him, or partied with him are now turning against him. Aussie is reportedly ready to testify using her real name, no aliases, no protection, and that alone could shake things up big time. His legal team is shifting to one of his former lawyers, has already walked away, and now he is being represented by Mark Geragos, a heavyweight attorney known for high-profile clients. But even he might struggle with what is coming. And let us not forget the federal raids back in March. Homeland Security showed up at both of Diddy's law homes, and this was no routine check. They left with hard drives, phone surveillance footage, and probably a lot more than anyone expected.
Do know is that two properties associated with him. We saw the feds descend on those properties. We saw in aerial footage federal agents both here in the Los Angeles area as well as in Miami at those residences. Now, the Department of Homeland Security, their what's called HSI, Homeland Security Investigations, gave CNN a statement. I'll read you part of that when asked about what this activity is. They say that earlier today, HSI New York executed law enforcement actions as part of an ongoing investigation with assistance from HSI Los Angeles, HSI Miami, and our local law enforcement partners. That is it, confirming that they are conducting what they're deeming law enforcement action, which could indicate search warrants being conducted there, could indicate arrests being conducted. We just don't know at this hour specifically what that law enforcement action is. It is worth pointing out, though, that Combs himself obviously has faced significant legal woes in recent months. I'll give you just the highlights of what actually occurred. In November, he was sued for abuse by a former partner. That lawsuit was then settled very quickly, but in December he faced in a complaint filed in the Southern District of New York. The suit was brought by a woman referred to as Jane Doe, who said that she was 17 at the time when these allegations took place back in 2003. He was accused of trafficking and gang other allegations also in that suit naming 2 of his associates. Of course, Combs denied any wrongdoing there. And then just last month, a former employee of Combs filed a suit also in the state of New York accusing him of sexual assault, harassment, and, quote, grooming. That former employee stated that he had worked for Combs between 2022 and 2023. Among those allegations, this former employee, a male employee, said that Combs did not compensate him for his music production work and forced him to procure and interact with workers, threatened him with serving alcoholic beverages laced with drugs to guests at parties at Combs' home. And then Combs' son, Justin Combs, was also accused of soliciting and underage girls at his father's homes. Again, the Combs have denied any wrongdoing, but just a series of allegations that we've seen taking place. Final point, Wolf, I'll note is that while we don't know the specific allegations or why the feds are at these residences, it is worth pointing out the agency that is conducting this law enforcement activity. It's not the FBI, it's not the DEA or the ATF. This is HSI, Homeland Security Investigations. For those unfamiliar, this is an agency that has long been the forefront, specifically at human trafficking investigations.
And calling for the claims to be actually dismissed. What are you watching for in this case?
Well, Sean Carter, Jay-Z has good reason to ask for this case to be dismissed. The accuser came out and did an interview. Now, we didn't get to see her face. We didn't get to learn her name. But in the interview, she gave some statements that were inconsistent with the statements or the accusations, I should say, that are made in her lawsuit. And it does raise serious questions about the credibility of this accuser. These superseding indictments filed against Sean Combs based on these 3 allegations.
The trial, and right now they're asking jurors about these celebrities, but don't tell us that, because we're a headline society with no attention span. So what you're doing is, P. Diddy is a pariah. He's had a long list of, he's allegedly, but some have been proven. So he's proven himself a pretty bad dude. Don't put other people's names that may have a very distant affiliation or a mention in some kind of testimony anywhere near these articles.
I think I can explain that, though.
Okay.
The reason that you do that in a jury questionnaire is because there may be a super fan in that.
No, the jury questionnaire, I understand. It's the media
coverage.
coverage.
It's a public trial.
Yeah.
It's a public trial. And the one thing about this jury system in this country that I appreciate, because I've studied comparative legal jury systems, is that it is that transparent. It's it's a public trial. There aren't cameras in federal courtrooms. I actually think there should be cameras in federal courtrooms so that people really see what people see what the process looks like. But imagine this kind of thing getting no coverage and being completely private and behind closed doors.
They use those names, the publications use those names as clickbait. So you look at the headline, and at the expense of that person, their livelihood, their brand, and their association for someone that doesn't know.
They did say, though, that they didn't have anything to do
if you
with
read the article.
But that's the point, is I think that I feel very strongly the same way. People need to just take a beat when they see other celebrity names come up. You don't know if they're a witness. You don't know if they're a victim. It is very likely, just based on the facts that we have and allegations that have been out there, there may be male victims who come out in this. And we know that men are even less likely than women to report sex because there's still such a stigma attached to it.
I actually believe there should be cameras in federal courtrooms so the public can see how the process really works, because when cases like this are handled behind closed doors, people are left guessing and misinformation spreads fast. Major outlets throw celebrity names into headlines just to get clicks, and that can damage reputations even if the person had nothing to do with the situation. You read the headline and instantly associate them with the chaos, even when they publicly deny involvement that damage is already done. And that is the real issue. People need to pause before assuming the worst. Just because a name appears in a headline, we do not always know if someone is a witness, a bystander, or even a victim. And on top of that, men are still way less likely to report certain things because of the shame and judgment that comes with speaking up.